Well, it's been exactly 1 week since that multi-car fatal accident, a series of accidents on the I-55. The massive pileups happened amid the ongoing insurance crisis, which is now in the hands of the newly elected Insurance Commissioner Tim Temple. Commissioner Temple is joining us for the first time on the Eyewitness Morning News. Glad to have you in. First of all, we were talking before we came on camera, that when you have 168 vehicles involved in one accident, that's got to be an insurance company's nightmare, and even the policy holder's nightmare.
Well, it certainly is. I mean, fortunately, we don't have that happen very often here in Louisiana, but, the process there is file your claim with your insurance company immediately, and then they'll start the investigation.
And what happens if an insurance company does tend to fight with you on that, especially if you're the last car that hit the pile?
Well, you want to let the claim process run and see, give the insurance company the opportunity to make you whole. But if you do have a complaint, you can file that with the Department of Insurance, and they'll follow up on that.
And when do you take office in January?
January 8th.
And you've been working with the present Insurance Commissioner, Jim Donelon.
Yeah, actually, we've got a meeting with Commissioner Donelon this afternoon to continue our discussions on transition.
And what do you think is the biggest thing you'll face once you take office?
Look, I mean, I think it's the same thing everybody's facing right now. It's just the financial crisis that insurance is playing in our state. It's unavailable, it's unaffordable, and everybody is facing it, whether you're, an individual, a family, or a consumer, or a company. And I think the biggest crisis is setting the conditions, the market conditions, so that companies want to come back into Louisiana. That's the first thing we've got to tackle.
And if I understand your platform correctly, you think that, not over-regulating, but allowing the marketplace to come in and decide for itself, that you think that'll eventually lower costs if we have more insurance companies here.
Right. Insurance is always evolving, and one of the things is when we start paying attention to the problems after they've occurred, we're playing catch up. So we've got to constantly be looking at ways to make Louisiana an attractive state. There's no law that says insurance companies have to do business in our state, so we're competing for that. So we've got to make sure that whether it's the laws or the regulations that we have in our state, look like our sister states, look like our neighboring states, so those companies want to come and do business here. Well,
if you look at some of our neighboring states, insurance companies are fleeing everywhere. I mean, they're fleeing Florida, they've been fleeing us. We did have the legislature okayed that money to try and lure more companies in, but that's not going to happen every year.
No, certainly the state of Louisiana can't afford to give away taxpayer dollars to, try and entice companies to come back in. That's where we've got to focus on those regulatory and statutory, the legal environment. That's what we can do is elected officials and as legislators to help set the market conditions so that we look like Texas, we look like North Carolina, because when insurance companies want to go and write business, they want to go where they're going to be treated favorably. And competition is what's going to drive premium. If we want premium relief, and we all want that, it's going to be based on competition. We can't regulate, we can't legislate rates to go down.
And I was going to ask you, if by your reasoning, if insurance companies are allowed to raise their rates, does that entice more companies to come in, and then maybe it'll flatten out?
Well, it's not just raise their rates, it's set their rates up or down. And right now, for the last several years, we had a very restrictive policy in place that didn't allow them to do that. And so, again, it's market conditions, free market. Louisiana is not viewed as an area where insurance companies can come in and, if you will, manage their own risk. We want to set that, because in the other states, they can.
Well, let's be honest. If they can raise rates, they're going to raise rates.
If they can, that's market conditions. But when you have more than 2 or 3 companies competing for your business, what are they going to do? They realize that they can't be the highest. If you're the highest, people aren't going to select you. So the more companies that we bring into the state of Louisiana, the more companies that compete for your business. And I'll give you just a real quick stat. Prior to the hurricanes, Laura, Delta, Zeta, and Ida, there were about 26 companies that were writing business, homeowners business, the bulk of the business, right, for the independent agents, not the direct writers. Right now, there's about 4. That's not competition. And when there's only 4 companies competing for your business, you're not going to have that pressure for premiums to go down.
How many more companies did come in when we offered those millions of dollars in incentives?
Earlier this year,
yeah,
the $45 million, 7 companies received that initial $45 million, but those 7 companies were already doing business in the state, so it didn't attract any new companies.
And what do you think will, I understand that if you kind of deregulate, how insurance rates are levied by insurance companies, that more people probably will come in. But the fact is, I mean, you look at us in Florida, insurance companies are afraid to come in.
Well, they certainly don't have to come into our state right now. And in addition to the 12 that went insolvent and the dozens that have left the company, I mean, it's left, there's no supply left for you as an individual to go and try and obtain insurance right now, which is, again, we've got to focus on creating that environment. And deregulation doesn't mean, a lot of people think that, that means that the companies are going to come in and take advantage of the consumer. And that's just not the case. I mean,
you still want to be a watchdog over that.
Well, I am. I will be required to be, and I will be. You still have to regulate and make sure that those companies are doing right by the consumer.
And will it still be a policy of this state that if you are with an insurance company for 3 or more years, they cannot drop you because of a storm?
Well, that is one of the things that I want to look at. I mean, we're the only state in America that has that. And if it was such a good law, why wouldn't other states adopt it? And the fact of the matter is nobody else has.
So you think that's on the chopping block?
I think it needs to be discussed. And I don't think you can do away with it, but we need to look at modifying it. Because I do have conversations with companies that don't write business in the state of Louisiana, and they cite that as number 1 or number 2
Really?
why they don't like Louisiana.
Okay. All right. If you got the tail end of this interview and want to catch the full conversation with the new insurance commissioner, you can go to our website, www.ltv.com. It'll be there.